Hello, this is the news on REN TV. I'm Anastasia Novolanova in the studio. Here's what we'll be talking about in this episode. Iran has responded to Israel's overnight attack and has urged residents to evacuate immediately. Tehran is planning to destroy an Israeli nuclear facility. The second day of the St. Petersburg Forum brought in billion-dollar contracts.
I'm interested in diamonds in Russia.
We'll tell you about profitable deals and the unexpected demand for officials in Labobu. The Prime Minister was out of shape. A French official got stuck in a fighter jet. Definitely not a Silk Road. The world's strongest team is preparing for a grand rally marathon. Let's start with footage of a destruction in southern Israel. This morning, Iran launched several missile strikes on the city of Beersheba. Tehran targeted the Nevatim military airbase, as well as an IT company that provided services to the IDF. The Microsoft office is also located in that same building. A residential neighborhood in the city was also affected by the explosions. Windows were blown out in buildings, and cars are burning in the streets. It is already known that 35 people have been injured. Tehran also threatened to strike the office of a local TV channel and called on residents to immediately evacuate the area around the Israeli nuclear facility in the city of Dimona. Tehran's morning attack was a response to Israel's large-scale strikes. All night long, air defense systems were actively operating over Iran. Several rockets fell on the city of Rasht, where some of Iran's most important industrial enterprises are located. There were reports of explosions in the area of a $500 million hydrocarbon fiber production plant. This facility is a key link in Iran's missile production chain. It was also reported that an assassination attempt on the head of the republic's foreign ministry was prevented in Iran. They had been planning to kill Abbas Araghchi several days ago in Tehran. This was reported by his advisor, but the military managed to prevent the tragedy. They had strengthened Araghchi's security measures in advance. Meanwhile, in Tel Aviv, public discussions about eliminating Iranian politicians and diplomats continue. The president of Israel, for example, called this a blessing for his country and said that the decision to attack Iranian nuclear facilities was the only correct one. And they were very close to them, Mom.
We had to eliminate this threat. And that's what we're doing. We know for sure that Iran was very close to enriching uranium to 60%. And there's no other reason for that except for developing weapons. We're eliminating this threat in advance, before it explodes.
At the same time, Tel Aviv does not plan to eliminate the supreme leader of the Islamic Republic, the president of Israel assured. However, this statement contradicts the words of the Israeli Minister of Defense, who previously named the assassination of Ayatollah Ali Khamenei as one of the main goals of the war. The United States may carry out a large-scale strike on Iran's main nuclear facility, Fordow, as early as this week. The White House has approved plans to bomb the underground nuclear centrifuges. Tactical nuclear weapons and bunker-buster bombs may be used in the attack. However, Trump has reportedly postponed the strike until the weekend. American journalist Seymour Hersh investigated the reason for the delay in his article. The White House chief needs the pause to lessen the shock to the U.S. stock markets. If America does go through with the attack, Iran may start the process of producing nuclear weapons. At least, that's what U.S. intelligence claims. Dmitry Peskov spoke today in an interview with Britain's Sky News about the dangers of direct U.S. intervention in the conflict between Israel and Iran. He said it would open Pandora's box, and the consequences could be catastrophic for everyone. The press secretary of the Russian president warned the West not even to consider trying to kill the supreme leader of the Islamic Republic. Iranian society is united, and such reckless actions will inevitably lead to the rise of extremist movements.
If it happens that Ali Khamenei is killed as a result of Israeli actions with U.S. support, how will Russia respond?
Extremely negatively. Extremely negatively. We categorically do not approve of this. Such actions should be unacceptable. Even talking about this should be unacceptable to everyone.
They also talked about Ukraine. Peskov noted that Russia currently has a strategic advantage on the battlefield. It does not intend to lose it and plans to continue advancing, but is still ready for constructive dialogue. Zelensky will not be allowed to attend the main working meetings of the NATO summit in The Hague. The organizers will limit his participation in the summit's program, all to avoid angering Donald Trump. According to the American press, the U.S. president does not want to cross paths with the head of the Kyiv regime. The White House has also demanded that European allies in the alliance minimize the Ukrainian agenda in the final declaration and under no circumstances mention Kyiv's membership in NATO. Even Zelensky's chief of staff, Yermak, won't be able to stand in for him. Washington isn't welcoming him either. During a spontaneous visit in early June, he was unable to secure a meeting with administration officials. American politicians from both parties consider him uneducated, abrasive, and overly demanding. There is also growing dissatisfaction with the Zelensky regime within Ukraine itself. Thousands of Kyiv residents took to the streets in protest today. Former military personnel and civic activists gathered at the House of Trade Unions. They have a whole list of grievances against the current authorities. According to the protesters, while ordinary Ukrainians are dying on the front lines, officials are lining their pockets, illegally seizing land, and depriving citizens of their right to vote. The participants in the rally are demanding changes by June 24th. Otherwise, they promise to stage a new Maidan. Judging by the increased police presence, the Kyiv regime is preparing for the situation to get worse. There have been no reports of clashes so far, but as a precaution, the entrance to the building has already been blocked. Today is the third day of the International Economic Forum in St. Petersburg. The main event is the plenary session with the participation of Russian President Vladimir Putin. But the day will begin with a meeting of the State Council Commission, as well as sessions. There will be more than 50 of them. The main topics include the development of the domestic automotive industry and tourism, combating fake news and cybersecurity, global climate issues, and the development of next-generation medical drugs. Special attention will be given to the issue of workforce shortages. Throughout the day, a number of important agreements and major contracts will be signed.
I expect that today's speech will also address the successful development of small and medium-sized businesses.
As for the second day of the forum, it was memorable for its many bright moments. For example, according to posts on social media, the things that attracted the most attention from visitors were the new Lada models, as well as Labubu toys featuring the faces of well-known people. The president's press secretary, Dmitry Peskov, Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, and the head of the central bank, Elvira Nabiullina. The presentations at the booths and the entertainment events were also very popular. And of course, there was a lot of attention on Russian cuisine.
I really enjoy traditional borscht, and I also especially like delicious potatoes.
Local traditional food.
Local traditional food. Oh my God, I would gladly take it home with me. It's so delicious. I noticed how much care the chefs and cooks put into preparing the dishes. Their patience, creativity, and attention to detail, it's something completely different.
And the business program was packed with heated discussions, debates about the key interest rate and methods to fight inflation, trade wars started by the U.S., and a new round of escalation in the Middle East. In addition to pressing political and economic issues, they also discussed future media technologies, the role of artificial intelligence in content creation and new trends. The approximate amounts of the contract signed are already known. Leningrad region, almost 500 billion rubles, Kaliningrad, 400 billion, and Rostov, 110 billion. One of the important agreements was signed yesterday by the Russian Direct Investment Fund and the Chernag Corporation. Chernag is a leader in the construction and management of industrial parks in Vietnam. They agreed on joint investments in logistics, port infrastructure, and mineral processing in both countries, as well as on exchanging expertise between specialists in the development of research programs. This cooperation will increase the competitiveness of Russia and Vietnam. Alexei Poltorinin will tell us about other important agreements that were signed and how they will affect Russia's future.
We use this needle to make the ornament. See, it's so fine and delicate. There's nothing complicated about it.
At the St. Petersburg Economic Forum, the language barrier is no obstacle for participants. A diamond trader from South Africa tries needle lace with masters from Ryazan.
I'm interested in diamonds in Russia.
Kenya is interested in coffee. But what could they possibly have in common? Turns out, it's coffee. In the hot country, they grow it, and in the northern region of our country, they roast it. And right now, Kenya is actually looking for new partners.
We have farmers who grow coffee, but they don't have a market. So if we get investors, it means we can bring life to our young population.
Meeting at the forum is the key not only to future economic ties, but also to cultural connections. There are a lot of foreigners in the pavilions, right on the go. Some are holding negotiations. Here's a representative from Ghana and Rostov University. They're taking pictures together right now. And before that, they exchanged business cards. Not everyone is revealing the amounts of the agreements, but the investments are huge. Some regions alone have deals worth almost $500 million rubles. And overall, this year the total value of deals will exceed $7.5 trillion. Russia is planning to sign major contracts, for example, with India.
Of course, it's not just about the ties between India and Russia, but also about the opportunity to interact with the rest of the world through Russia, including Latin America and Africa. The cooperation within BRICS at this forum is simply amazing, especially considering the opportunities opening up here.
The BRICS invited country, Saudi Arabia, has discovered travel to Russia over the past 3 years. In just the first quarter of this year, almost 10,000 tourists came to our country. And the tourist flow will continue to grow.
We are exploring all the regions. One of the places we're interested in is Tver. We'll go and take a look, check out the booths. I have a meeting with the governor there.
Foreign guests are being lured to the booths with throat singing. With unique gifts, and of course, with the latest domestic car models. The authorities of Zimbabwe are negotiating the possibility of assembling our cars in their own country.
Do you export to other countries, for example, to Zimbabwe?
At the forum, agreements are being signed not only with foreign partners. Major contracts are being made by Russian regions and domestic companies. You can study geography in the pavilions, Bashkortostan, Chelyabinsk region, and here's Smolensk. The region brought the first domestically produced jet skis. During the International Economic Forum, Avtovezi and T-Bank signed a memorandum of strategic partnership. The two companies will jointly develop remote sales channels. Through the T-Auto service, you can already buy a car online, and it will be delivered right to your home. The entire lineup of Lada vehicles is available to customers.
This is a full purchase service, not just ordering a car, yes. It includes financing and insurance as well. All the services offered by T-Bank are now available to customers when buying a Lada car.
T-Bank and Avtovezi will join forces to develop and implement new technological solutions in the automotive sector.
We continue to grow our online sales together with our partner, T-Bank. Since we launched our online portal, through which we sell cars on the Lada website, we've already sold more than 600,000 vehicles.
The final numbers for the number of guests and the total investments will be announced on the last day. Journalists are expecting new financial records. Alexei Poltorinin, Sofia Melnichenko, German Ismagilov, and Roman Kamenov. Izvestia, reporting especially for REN TV.
At the forum, they discussed the return of foreign brands to the Russian market. It was previously reported that, in order to do this, they would have to get approval from the Ministry of Internal Affairs, the FSB, and the Prosecutor General's office. But, as the Ministry of Finance told Izvestia, this will not apply to all companies, only to those that left our country on bad terms. For example, those that fail to fulfill obligations to partners or employees, or have agreements for buyback of shares under non-market conditions. Some of these companies use the proceeds to finance the USU, so checks are necessary. 24 villages in the Novosibirsk region were left without electricity because of a hurricane. A powerful storm swept through the region overnight. The heavy rain and hail were accompanied by gale-force winds. It uprooted trees, tore metal roofs off houses, and even knocked down concrete poles.
I've never seen rain and a storm like that in my life. It was just terrifying.
Emergency crews are now trying to restore electricity. There are reports of one person injured. He got cuts from shattered window glass. Dozens of houses and cars were also damaged. Tyumen was also hit by the storm. There, torrential rains flooded the city in just a few minutes. Now the streets are more suitable for water transport. It was even harder for pedestrians. In some places, the water was knee-deep. City services are now trying to deal with the aftermath of the flood. A major fire left dozens of homes without power in Nizhny Novgorod last night. A construction depot on the outskirts of the city caught fire. The flames quickly spread across almost the entire area and jumped to a high-voltage power line, plunging an entire neighborhood into darkness. Rescue crews are currently working at the scene, but so far they haven't been able to put out the fire.
The power lines have been severed. We can't start extinguishing the fire yet. We're evacuating gas cylinders from the gas stations.
According to preliminary reports, no one was injured, but power still hasn't been restored to the residential buildings. Emergency utility crews are working at the scene, but there's no word yet on when the damaged power line will be fixed. Summer vacations have been ruined for the residents of Krasnoyarsk Krai. Hundreds of families love spending time at the picturesque forest lake, but at some point, the road to it was simply closed off. It turned out that local officials handed the land over to private ownership, supposedly for tourism development. However, the new owner had his own plans. Vladislav Tomaszewski's investigated the criminal scheme.
The lake in Krasnoyarsk Krai may be called big, but there just isn't enough of it for all the locals. Access to the shoreline is now closed off for residents. Everything that used to belong to everyone has, for some reason, become someone's private property.
How are we supposed to feel about this? Please build farther away from the shore.
At least let people be able to come and swim.
In December 2020, a sizable piece of land, almost 50 hectares along the shoreline, was handed over to private ownership with the approval of the district administration. The company Ozhersky Service Center, which specializes in handling and disposing of hazardous waste, suddenly decided to turn this area into a paradise for everyone and develop tourist infrastructure here. The proposed project included building a guest house, walking paths, sports grounds, and public areas. It sounds great. In reality, these were empty promises. The entrepreneurs acquired the land for only 15% of its actual value, split the plot into pieces, and sold them off. There's a house with garages on the property. Here's this bathhouse. Over there is a barbecue area, and here they've set up a dock for boats and fishing. Everything is done lavishly for a quiet and peaceful getaway. Now, all the infrastructure and beautiful lake views are reserved exclusively for a select group of tourists, the new owner and his friends.
He comes whenever he feels like it.
So, what does he do here?
I don't know. They put me here to keep watch, that's all.
He just relaxes?
Yeah.
The whole area is fenced off with a solid barrier right up to the water's edge. Cameras have been installed, and security is posted.
You wouldn't even recognize it now. It's all blocked off. Everything's mine, mine, mine. What if my grandkids come to visit, huh? How are they any worse than these people? These big shots.
The case even reached the prosecutor's office. The agency's staff conducted an investigation and found out that this plot is part of the Forest Fund lands, and they had no right to hand it over to private ownership at all.
So the administration wasn't allowed to allocate them, but nevertheless, in 2014, it was leased out. In 2022, after some small structures were built on it, structures that take up about 177 times less space than the total land area, the plot was then transferred into the ownership of a legal entity.
The prosecutor's office filed a lawsuit. The court has already declared the deal illegal and ordered the entrepreneurs to clear the plot and return it to the state. However, it seems the occupiers have no intention of backing down.
There will be bases, everything will be built, everything's fine.
So you see a future for?
Of course, there is absolutely.
Are you selling them?
No.
But there was an ad posted about.
That's just someone spreading fakes. Provocation.
Was it a joke? And while the fences are still up, the officials who approved the illegal transfer have disappeared from sight. The former head of the district conveniently resigned and left the city. His deputy, who signed the documents, is on vacation and it's not certain he'll return to his office. The new head just shrugs.
I don't know which plot. Yeah, I haven't heard, so I really can't say which plot it is. And honestly, when he left, maybe he left.
In 2020.
In 2020, it became private property. It was leased.
It's possible that local officials will have to answer criminally for not knowing the land code. Vladislav Tomaszewski with Natalia Kragle and Sergei Podlevsky. Izvestia reporting especially for REN TV.
The Latvian parliament has officially banned Russian and Belarusian citizens from buying real estate. The ban will also apply to legal entities if they are registered in those countries. The only exceptions are heirs of apartments and Russians with Latvian residence permits who do not own any other property. Lawmakers sternly called the law a restriction on transactions that threaten national security. So, does that mean a legal real estate sale could threaten Latvia's security? The Saima did not specify. Now, Russian judoka's historic success. They won 3 golds and 2 bronzes in Budapest Worlds. Among winners, Ainul Taysoev, Matvey Konikovsky, and Timur Arbuzov. This world championship became Russia's most successful. The last time our judokas won 3 golds was at the tournament in 2001, but back then they weren't able to win any other medals. I should note that athletes from Russia competed under neutral status, under the flag of the International Judo Federation. Participants in the Silkway Rally Marathon are preparing for an intense battle for prizes ahead of the famous multi-day race. For less than a month, the drivers will be tackling off-road terrain at extreme speeds. As usual, the most spectacular races are in the truck class. Focus is on the famed Kamaz master. Maxim Sirikin saw the cruise preparations.
The engines roar, the ground shakes, and clouds of dust are everywhere. This is Kamaz Master. Even the training sessions for Silkway Rally participants are spectacular and dangerous. These runs prepare the crews for the toughest situations on the real course. They help save hours when navigating sharp turns, descents, and climb somewhere along the shores of Lake Baikal or in the Altai mountain passes. But for that, as the drivers say, you first need to learn to trust the vehicle, not be afraid of the mud, and not give in to your emotions. For Kamaz, for trucks, the worse the track, the better. The more difficult it is, the more competition there is, and the more interesting it gets. 5 Kamaz Master Truck crews will take part in the 15th International Rally Marathon. And this is not just a truck. It's a steel giant with up to 1,000 horsepower under the hood. It weighs nearly 10 tons. But don't think this is a clumsy giant. Thanks to its well-designed build and super strong suspension, this multi-ton machine literally flies over bumps. Well, almost. A reliable frame keeps us safe. Inside, we're completely safe. And that's even as we're racing off-road at speeds of up to 140 kilometers per hour. The official start of the Silkway Rally will be given on July 12th in Irkutsk. Right from the beginning, the route heads straight into the mountains, over a pass, then onto winding Siberian roads, followed by the Mongolian steppes, rocks, and a rough, bumpy ride. Next comes the Gobi. About 100 kilometers of pure dunes, and the finish line in the Altai Mountains. In total, they'll have to cover almost 5,000 kilometers. 2,500 of those are fast, dangerous special stages. Usually, not everyone makes it to the end, but everyone is in fighting spirits. The teams have tested their strength and worked out their strategies. Everyone is ready for the start. Driver Anton Shibalov is aiming for victory.
The competition today is much tougher than at Dakar. Even at the Russian Championship, at the Silkway Rally, we have rivals like the NAZ team. Ural is catching up fast, too. And GAZ, those guys are improving every year as well.
The Silkway Rally is not just a race. It's a little life lasting 2 weeks, pushing the limits of both human and technical capabilities. Who will ultimately conquer the Gobi Sands and be the first to finish in Gorno-Altes? We'll find out soon. The race is sure to be intense. Maxim Sirikin, Yaroslav Sinitsyn, Nikita Malkov. A special report for REN TV.
In southeast China, an evacuation was announced from severe flooding. Several provinces were flooded because of the typhoon. Torrential rains lasted a whole day. The worst situation was in the mountains. The cars were submerged and buildings flooded. Many people were trapped in homes and offices. They had to wait for rescuers who evacuated people by boat. Actually, it won't work anymore. It's bad. 200 to 300,000. In total, almost 2,000 residents were evacuated. Police and volunteers are helping the rescuers. In some villages, the flooding triggered landslides, but no one was hurt. The Prime Minister of France found himself in an extremely awkward situation during the Paris Air Show. François Bayrou was supposed to personally present the main exhibit of the show, a new modification of the Rafale fighter jet, but he got stuck in the cockpit. In the end, they had to call for help to pull him out. These shots have already sparked a wave of mockery online. The French are saying that the cramped cockpit is to blame, or maybe it's just too hearty a diet. Meanwhile, Russian users immediately drew parallels with a character from a domestic cartoon who eats too much. Help.
Help. Please, someone save me. Help.
Stay tuned for information in upcoming broadcasts and on the multimedia portal AAZ, our UN website, REN TV. See you on air. We. Got dark, but I found a way through the shadows to a brighter day. Fingers crossed, I won't slip away, hold my breath. Let the music play musical note, musical note, musical note. Replace the time with your warmth and happiness. Musical note, step by step. We lose control, surrendering to the rhythm that takes over our bodies and minds. Feel the heat rise from deep within my soul, a burning fire that grows stronger with every heartbeat. Every breath, every moment, we're together. Every time you hold me near, drawing me closer into your embrace. I feel the world around us fade away, leaving only the music and passion. In this rhythm, we disappear, vanishing into the melody, letting go of everything but the sound and the feeling. The lights blur, the night stretches on, and all that matters is the way we move, the way we connect, the way our hearts beat in time with the song. Lost in the dance, lost in each other, we become part of something greater, something infinite. As the music carries us away, step by step, deeper into the night, inside the foggy room, of course, it's just you and me dancing. Roll out, rise up and reach out, jump, sunshine on the floor. Inside the foggy room, of course, it's just you and me dancing. Roll out, rise up and reach out, jump, sunshine on the floor.